Alright guys, using the menstrual cup, let's go see if it makes life any different. Yeah, walk-in's the same. I just sit anywhere?
See? Lid.
Do you do the menstrual cup discount?
No?
So going to the cafe is the same. There's no menstrual cup discount, so no discount for saving the planet. No special seating area, you just gotta sit with the normals. But apart from that, it's the same. Riding my bike is the same. So I guess it's not that much different. Hey guys, Katie from the K Show blog here. Today, talking about periods. Never thought I'd say that on the blog, but here we are. So the last item in my plastic free-ish challenge for the year was to find alternatives for period products. And I wanted to try a menstrual cup specifically because I'd heard so many good things about them from friends and just like friends on the internet and everything. Everyone who uses them seems to rave about them. Now this one was by far the most asked about of all the changes I was going to make. I always got a lot of questions about it from the start when I announced I was going to do it at some point in the year, and then recently when I asked questions about what you guys wanted to know on Instagram. So I got a lot of good questions. Thank you for those. There's a lot to cover in the video, so I'm going to break it up into sections and then leave the timestamps in the description. So if you only kind of want to know about one part of using it, you'll be able to go there and find what time it is and then jump to that part. Otherwise, here's how it went. Firstly, what I got. So there are a lot of brands on the market, so you have a lot to choose from. I chose the Pixie Cup and they have gifted me mine for this challenge. When you order your Pixie Cup, here's what it comes with. So you get the cup, obviously, and it comes with a little carry bag to store it in as well. So that's pretty handy if you're just gonna leave it in your purse or something. Just pop it in there and then close it up. It also comes with a small booklet, and that's just kind of a little how to use guide. But they have a lot more information on their website. They have a lot of articles just about using the cups. And then they also have a YouTube channel with video tutorials. So I recommend going to the website, going to the YouTube channel, whichever you prefer, reading or videos, and getting your information there because there's so much more detailed tips than what's in here. They include a little sticker. No offense, I'm never going to use that. I'm not ashamed to get my period, but I'm also not proud of it. It just kind of happens. And in the box with the cup, you also get 5 of these cleaning wipes. Now, we're going to talk more about cleaning later, so I'll save that for then. But just so you know, when you do order the cup, you get 5 cleaning wipes with it. And I also got one of these. This is separate, so if you order the cup, this won't come with it. You would have to order it separate. But it's a little, just a cleaning tub, and it folds up as well. So if you're traveling, it's pretty convenient because it's small. Just keep it like that. But it's just a cleaning cup, so you put the cup in there with the boiling water to clean it, and it's like its own cleaning station. That's pretty convenient to have. If you have an APO address, they currently don't ship to APO from their website, but they have an Amazon store, so you can just go on Amazon. We all know that Amazon ships to APO, so you'll be able to get it from there. In terms of sizing, there are different sizes to choose from. And you'll need to go on the website to read the guides and figure out which size is going to be best for you. There's some obvious factors that would dictate the size, kind of like if you've had kids or if you have a really heavy flow, that's obviously going to lean towards probably the larger one, whereas the opposite would probably lean towards a smaller one. But it really depends on your body. So read their guides. There's a few factors that play into it, and then you'll be able to figure out which size works best for you. But you might be on the fence as far as the sizing goes, like I was. So for example, the guide said if you haven't had kids, you would get the small. But if you are over 30, you would get the large. So I'm both those things, you know, so I could have gone either way. And there's a few other factors as well. So if you are on the fence like I was, I recommend getting the small and the large so that you can compare and figure out which is gonna work best. This is what I did, and ultimately it was the best decision I could have made, because I think I would have given up after trying the first one I tried, which was actually the wrong size. So I really wanted to love it. I had an open mind. I was willing to give it a go, and I expected a little bit of inconvenience, but at first I hated it. I hated it so much. It was so frustrating, so inconvenient. I thought I would get the seal right and it would still leak, and I just thought, what's the point of this? These are stupid, and everyone who's been raving about them is a big fat liar. That was like my first experience with them. But then I tried that second size that I got, and it did its job. It worked, it was much more comfortable, and it didn't leak, and I was like, okay, I get it now. So I know it can be frustrating, but that's why I say get the 2 sizes and try both, because it could be as simple as just the wrong size. Okay, how to use them. So my biggest suggestion is to practice before you need to use it. So I don't know about you, but I don't really have the temperament to be learning complicated new things on day 1 of my period. So I was kind of losing my temper a fair bit, and I wanted to throw this stupid little thing across the room and just never use it again. So I recommend maybe just trying it before you need it so you can get the hang of it, and then it'll be easy on day 1. How it works is that it kind of like goes into the tunnel, and when it's incorrectly, it forms a seal and then just collects all the fluid. And the seal prevents any leaks from coming out the side. It's actually pretty cool engineering, right? The issue is that it takes a little bit of practice to get it right. And so before I started, I watched like every tutorial on YouTube, I read every blog post, and while I was trying, I was still trying to research and figure it out. And everyone said the exact same thing. Just a bit of a learning curve. Hell no. It's a pretty steep curve. And it's especially going to be frustrating if you haven't got the right size, because there's no way it's going to be able to work in that case. So it's going to take a little bit of practice. You have to have the right size, and it can be a bit frustrating at first. The good news is it's really not rocket science. It's just something that takes a little bit of practice, and then once you get it, it is golden. So here's how to insert the cup. So first you have to fold it. It's not going to go in like this, right? There's a few different folds. They even all have names. There's like the 7 fold. You just make it look like a 7. C fold is just like in and then fold the corners together. It's not really a corner if it's a circle, but you know what I mean. And then it looks like a C. So there's a few different folds. You can sort of look them up and practice with each and figure out which one works best for you. Everyone has their preference. Then to actually put it in, it's very similar to a tampon where you have a few different options as far as you can stand and do it, you can sit and do it, you can have one leg up resting on something, you can squat. So just practice a few of those as well and find whichever one suits you best. A few of these things are just personal preference. It's not necessarily like a right and wrong. The only right and wrong is making sure it's sealed. That's the only thing you need to get right. So one thing I think is helpful in terms of getting it into the right spot is doing a little practice beforehand. So if you feel inside yourself, right, there's like something that feels like your nose in there. So if you just go in and find that spot, and that's what you're kind of getting this around, if that makes sense. So you're looking for that thing, and then after you've got the cup in, you have to put your fingers in and just check that it's not folded over, because sometimes like you might do the fold, put it in, but then it doesn't, like, it might be like folded over in one spot and it's not going to be able to form a seal that way. So you put your finger in, check, you need to check the rim to make sure it's all open. And while you're checking, you're also making sure that that nose thing, you can't feel it outside of the cup. So that's another way you can tell. And to get it in properly, you want to angle it more backwards towards like kind of your tailbone instead of directly up. The instinct is to go up, right? But you want to angle it backwards, and then once it's in, you want to put your finger in, check the rim, check that the nose thing is, you can't feel it outside of the cup, and you're probably in business. Nose thing is not a medical term, by the way. It's just for ease of explaining. If you put your finger in and find that the cup is folded over on one side, one thing you can do is like squeeze the bottom, and it might put some air in and just sort of pop it open on its own. That's one way. And another way I found the easiest is to just sort of like rotate it a bit, and it seems to work itself out. So try both of those if you do get it folded over. So that's really important to make sure it's in the proper position and in working order. And then I saw this on one YouTube tutorial that seemed to work the best for me. You give it a little tug from the little tuggy end and squeeze your muscles at the same time. So do a little like Kegel squeeze, and that seems to like form the seal. You'll be able to tell if you have a seal formed if you tug it and there's no give, like there should be a little resistance. If you can pull it straight out, then it's not sealed. So that's a good way to check if you've got it in properly and it's all gonna work fine. But either way, while you're learning, it's good to have like a backup just in case of any leaks, because it's probably gonna happen while you're learning. So just like put a pad down or something just in case. To take it out, you just need to break that seal because you can't like rip it out while it's suctioned in there. So you can just push the bottom, push a little bit of air into it and then wiggle, and it will just break that seal, and then you can pull it out. So I've read some people worry about the size and it fitting in there in the first place, but when it's folded up, it's only this big. Okay, have you seen a penis? You're good. You're good. It's gonna fit. So how to and how often to empty it. The cups last for 12 hours, which I think is a huge selling point of them and a reason that people love them so much, because you can just put it in the morning and you don't even have to think about it till nighttime. If you have a heavier flow though, you might need to change it more often. And just to figure out your own schedule, you're just gonna have to check it when you first start using it. Maybe you check during the day sometime and see if it's already full or not, and then you'll be able to sort of figure out how often you need to change it personally. But if you don't have a heavier flow, it can last for 12 hours. In terms of how to empty it, you just break that seal, take it out, empty the contents, and then give it a quick clean, just to rinse in the water. I use a little bit of Castile soap, and then you can pop it back in. The biggest thing is that, let's see if you can see these. There's little holes, there's 4 little holes around the top, and you need to make sure that they're empty and not clogged up with anything. So that's really important because that will allow it to form that seal. So just double check those when you do your rinse, make sure they're empty, and then you can pop it back in. So how to clean it. So there's 2 types of cleaning that you're gonna do. The first one is the daily rinse when you're on your period, and you're gonna do that every time you empty it and change it. Then there's a sterilization, and that's after your period, where you get rid of all the bacteria and get it ready for the next time you use it. So for the daily rinse, like I said, I just use a couple of drops of Castile soap, rinse it out, and that's all I need. You just need to use like an eco-friendly soap, and you're gonna want to avoid perfumes and dyes and chemicals because it's going into a very delicate region, okay? You want to take care of that region and its pH balance. So use as natural soap as you can, and take care of your lady parts. Pixie Cup also sells a wash you can use, so if you prefer to just buy all that at the start, you could also do that. For the sterilizing at the end of your period, you just need to boil it. So you could put it in a saucepan or whatever and just boil it for like 5-10 minutes. I put the boiling water in the cleaning cup I got, and then you pop the cup in there, put the lid on, and just let it sit, and then it will sterilize. And then you take it out, put it back in a little carry bag, and you're ready for next month. The boiling won't get rid of any stains though. So if you do have stains on there and you don't like seeing them, you can put your cup in a container with some water and hydrogen peroxide, probably about like 2-to-1 ratio, 2 water, 1 hydrogen peroxide, and then just leave it for 24 hours, come back to it the next day, and the stains will be gone. Right, you guys know I love a pros and cons list, so here is the pros and cons of using a menstrual cup. So the pros are pretty obvious and they're talked about a lot already. It's going to reduce your waste, it's going to reduce the amount of chemicals that you put into your body to absorb, it's better for the planet, it's cheaper, they last a long time so you don't have to think about it during the day. So there's a lot of good benefits to using a cup. But there are some cons, and I feel like they're not talked about as much, so I'm just going to mention them. It's not to hate on the cups because I use it and I like it and I will use it from now on, but it's just so that you're prepared. Firstly, it's way more inconvenient, and that's the case with all the plastic-free swaps I've made. Every single thing has been more inconvenient in a way because you just can't compete when you have to clean something and reuse it compared to throw it out after one use. Obviously, the cleaning is more inconvenient. It's especially more inconvenient if you're in a public restroom and you have to empty it for whatever reason because you don't usually have a sink in the store with you. And this is where the wipes come in. So I recommend don't use these at home at all. Save them, keep them in your purse, and keep these for emergencies when you're out and about. This way, if you need to change it while you are out and about, you can use these wipes. You'll need to have clean hands also, so that's a little bit tricky as well because you need to wash your hands, not use one hand as you touch the door and whatever, lock the door, and then empty it. You can clean it with a wipe, make sure it's nice and clean, and then put it back in. Another way it's inconvenient is just that it takes a lot of practice to get it right. There's not a lot of learning curve in terms of how to use a tampon or how to use a pad. They're pretty straightforward, and any monkey could use it really. But with this, it takes a little bit of practice. You have to get the right size. So it's just a little bit more inconvenient in that way as well. The only other con I can think of is that it's kind of messier. You have to get your hands dirty to use it, and that's something you don't have to do as much with a pad or tampon, so it is a little bit messier to use. And I know people will be like, it's just natural, it's not gross or whatever. Like, shitting is natural too, but I don't want to be elbow deep in anyone's shit either. So it is a little bit messy. It is something you have to take into consideration. But overall, for me, I think the pros far outweigh the cons. And once you get the hang of it, it is pretty life-changing. They are pretty epically cool and great to use. But it's just getting that hang of it that's going to be a little bit frustrating. Once you get there, it's golden. So like I said, I did ask for questions about this on Instagram, and you guys sent in a lot of questions, so I'm just gonna read them because I wrote them all down. So I've got my little laptop here, so I don't want to miss any. So the first one was, can you pee with it in? Yes, you can, just like a tampon or something. The pee hole is separate to the love tunnel, so you're golden with that. Can you poop with it in? Yes, but conditions apply on that one. So depending on how much straining you're doing when you poop, that downward pressure could break the seal, and then you would get leaks afterwards. So you could still poop, but then make sure you wash your hands after, and you might just want to check it, maybe readjust it if it had broken the seal. If you are straining a lot, also it might be time for the prunes, you know? Might be time for the prunes. Can you have sex with it in? How much are you trying to fit in there? You already got a cup. So I would say no. The cup's already in there, it's taking up the space you would need to facilitate the sex. So you can't do that, but you can still do other sexual activities, maybe north of the border or south of the border, depending on what you're into. I'm not judging, right? But you can do the things in the surrounding area, but not the actual sex itself. Can you exercise with it in? That's a good question. So yes, you can. And I have noticed though that when I was doing some exercises like squats, deadlifts, even some ab exercises, it would break the seal. So I recommend putting a pad down or something just as a backup in case you do leak, and just testing it out, because I'm not sure if maybe I put it in wrong that day or what it is, but I can't imagine that all that downward pressure that you're using to lift that weight, I don't think the weight matters necessarily, as long as you're going to your max, you're doing the exercise properly, which means you have to brace your core, and you're using all your effort to lift that weight. I think that pressure is probably going to break the seal. So test it out, see what works for you, let me know. Can you swim with it in? Yep, just like a tampon. Are they good for travel? I think that one depends. In terms of how I plan to use it, if I'm traveling somewhere where the water's not safe to drink, I'm probably not going to use the cup. Like, if drinking the water is going to make me sick, I'm definitely not going to like rinse my cup in it and then insert it into myself so that my body can absorb all that bacteria. I'm just not interested in being sick while I'm traveling. I think for me it'll be like the water bottle challenge, where if I am traveling somewhere and I can't drink the water, probably just going to use a single-use water bottle. And I just can't risk getting sick. I don't want to get sick while I'm traveling, especially if it's for work. It's just I want to reduce that risk as much as possible. And those times are so few and far between that I'm really not worried about my plastic impact for things that happen so rarely. I'm trying to focus my efforts on changing the things that happen all the time. For countries where the water's fine to drink, I think, yeah, that'd be great for travel, and I would definitely take my cup traveling with me then. The only thing you probably want to keep in mind is if you're traveling for a longer time, you would need access to boiling water to sanitize it, but that's pretty easy to get, you know, if you just order a cup of boiling water at a cafe or something, or maybe at your hotel room service or whatever. There's always access to it, so you should be okay. But yeah, I think that'd be great for travel in that sense. That's all my questions. So I think regular pads and tampons would still be in my life for a few reasons. Firstly, just to stash them around in case of emergencies. So typically what I had done is sort of had something in my purse, the car, my gym bag, work bag, backpack, day backpack for traveling. Like, I always have one stashed everywhere just in case of emergencies, then I'm always covered. And I can't really do that with one cup. Like, I can't have that stashed everywhere, and I might forget it sometimes, but I want to be prepared. So I think I'll just have regular pads or tampons or whatever stashed in my go-to areas just in case of emergencies. And then also I like that because in the event, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it has happened to me a few times where somebody's come up and asked if I had one because they're stuck in that emergency unprepared, you know. So it allows me to be in a position to help someone else out if need be. So I think I'll keep them for that reason. I'm probably just not going to go through them that fast. And like I said, if I'm traveling anywhere with dodgy water, I'll probably stick to pads and tampons. But other than that, I think the cup is a great go-to and I'll be using it for the most part. So that's all my thoughts. If you have any other questions or if you have other tips for people using a cup, please pop them in the comments below. I hope this video has been helpful in some way. I know I did talk about the negative stuff, which is something I didn't see as much in other videos, but I think it's just important to get the full picture and not just have a rosy colored glasses view. And I wanted to have both sides because when I've been talking to people about swapping to the cup, just on Instagram DMs or whatever, a few people have sort of tried it once and hated it and not gone back to it. So they were like, yes, I'm interested to see your tips and your experience because I hated it and never used it again. So I just wanted to have that complete picture of using it to show that, yeah, it was the same for me. I hated it at first and it was very frustrating and it took a bit of getting used to. But now that I've got the practice of putting it in and getting it sealed and then I have the right size for my body as well, it is a really great product to use. And if you just get over that little hurdle, I think you would find the same. It is pretty, I feel like the term life-changing is so overused, but it is kind of life-changing because it makes things a lot easier. So I hope it can help. Like I said, if you have any questions, just pop them below, and otherwise, I'll see you next time. Ooh, also I forgot to mention, subscribe to my channel, it helps.